Sparkle has already come out, the quantum harmony with a kawaii appearance. Honestly though, her appearance and personality reminds me of Kurumi from Dead Life anime. But don't fall for her cuteness or because she has a crazy personality, but also with a crazy kit to discuss. She can advance forward teammate, crit damage buff, damage boost buff, and skill point buff, which is her main attraction. In this video, I am going to talk more about Sparkle Guide including kit, build, team lineup, analysis, and should you pull her or not in the end of this video because her performance was out of my expectation. Welcome to Gangstar Zero Guide and let's get into it. Like usual, let's start from her kit. I'm gonna start with her talent. Her talent will increase the maximum skill point in the battle from 5 to 7. If an ally uses a skill point, all allies' damage will be buffed, lasts for 2 turns, and can stack up to 3 times. And then for the second one is her skill. Her skill will increase ally crit damage lasting for 1 turn, and this crit damage will also scale with Sparkle crit damage. Her skill will also advance forward an ally by 50%. This skill works similarly to Bronya skill. And then for her ultimate will recover 4 skill points and grant all allies a Shiver. Shiver will make the talent buff increase, lasting for 2 turns. And then we are going to talk about her first bonus ability. Her first bonus ability will regenerate more energy if you use basic attack. For her second bonus ability, the crit damage boost effect provided by the skill will be extended for another turn until the character's next turn. So it means like the crit damage buff will last like for 2 turns. And then for her final bonus ability is that she will increase all allies attack by 15%. And then if there is another quantum type allies, your team will also get another attack buff. Okay, so for the next one, we are going to talk about her build. I recommend using 4 hackerspace for a universal set. You can also use 2 set of HP percent and 2 set of speed percent if you do not want to use the 4 hackerspace set. For the 2 sets, you can use a Broken Kill set or the Penacony of Dream set if you play a mono quantum team. For the main stat, crit damage on the body because Sparkle scaling with crit damage, and then speed on the feet, HP or def on the planar sphere, and energy regeneration rate on the link rope because we need her ultimate ready as soon as possible every cycle. For the substat, I aim the crit damage as high as you can, and then you can go for speed, then effect resistance if you use Broken Kill on the 2P set, and the rest is up to you. So for the Lycon, her signature will be the best in slot of course, and then followed by Bronya Lycon. For the 4-star Lycon, Past and the Future can be a good option for you if you can guarantee your next turn after Sparkle is your DPS. And then Dance and Planetary Rendezvous will be the last option if you want an advance for buff or you want to buff your quantum DPS damage. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about right now is about her skill. Her skill can advance forward an ally. These skills look familiar to one of the best Harmony characters before. Well, if we look at Bronya most frustrating thing to build is about the speed tuning. Because Sparkle can also advance forward an ally, does Sparkle also need speed tuning? I think if you want to maximize her kit, like Bronya, speed tuning will be needed. Like Bronya, you can put -1 speed Sparkle or hyper speed Sparkle with 160 speed minimum. But for me, I personally will put her in a normal speed, like around or more than 134 speed. Well, I have a reason for this. For the first one, it's because you can go all out damage on your DPS without considering your DPS speed. Sparkle skill is advance forward, not immediately taking action like Bronya did. So we do not waste the whole potential of Sparkle. Because you know, Sparkle buff is very good. Her skill can crit damage buff, and then from her talent and her ultimate will give another damage boost for your DPS. And then for the second reason, it's because we can use Sparkle skill every time. If the DPS is not a skill point demander like Imbibe Lune or King Che, Sparkle can almost consistently use the skill point. And lastly, the advance forward skill is not the main point of buff from Sparkle. It's different from Bronya, where Bronya buff is more focused on taking extra action, while Sparkle main buff is the skill point buff. The advance forward buff looks like an additional buff for her. I know this buff, this advance forward buff is also a very big thing, you know, if we see how Bronya impact your DPS damage. But still, if you do not want to be frustrated by the speed tuning, you can just go around 134 speed or more. Still, if you want to go to maximize her potential by giving her the hyper speed Sparkle, which means you need to aim 160 speed, it won't be a problem for me, because the way you play her determines your playstyle in the battle. Another point I want to talk about that is in my pre-analysis video, or in my 2.0 pull recommendation, I was wrong about her. I said that Sparkle could only work well with DPS like in Inhibitor Lune or King Che, where the DPS is the skill point demander or skill point, yes, you know, you need a lot of skill point for Inhibitor Lune and King Che. But saying the talent could also buff the whole party, DPS like Jingliu or Blade, which are rare to use skill points, can still get this talent buff. It also means that the talent should be an uptime buff, because your team will consistently use skill point every cycle. With this universal buff and kit, Sparkle will be a universal harmony character, which means every DPS in the game can work well with her. Seeing this universal buff, it reminds me of Ruanmei being a universal buffer and the best harmony character in the game. I will put Sparkle on my top tier list harmony character right now, with this universal buff and being a skill point generator. For the team lineup, you can put her in any kind of lineup. Specifically, Sparkle will be very good in Imbibe Rune team or King Che team. I think there is an interesting lineup. Can you put Bronya and Sparkle in the same team? If you want to use a team lineup like this, make sure you do not use speed boot for your DPS. You also need to put Sparkle faster than your Bronya. If this happens, these two harmony characters can maximize their own potential even though they are in the same team. Bear in mind that this lineup can only be used for SP positive DPS and constant speed DPS like Jingliu, Blade, and other SP positive DPS. For DPS like Silly, yes, you can still put Bronya and Sparkle in the same team, but remember that Silly is a DPS that can self-speed buff. It means that her turn will inconsistent, and maybe at some point the buff will not, or the character potential is not work well with Silly speed. Overall, I think she is a top tier harmony for your account, especially if you play DPS like Imbibe Rune or Kingche. But outside of that, I think she is a universal buffer, and you can just pull her like you pull Runmei. She exceeded my expectations, and I think you should also consider to pulling her because good support is better than a great DPS. Well, that's all from me for the short guide. Leave a like if you like this video and share this video if you find this guide helpful. Consider subscribing if you want more guide and content like this. See you guys on the other video.